Ms. Johnson, you claim you have no doubts whatsoever that Mr. Lewis is the father of your 6-month-old daughter, Josiah. You say the only reason he doubts paternity is because he heard false rumors. Now, Mr. Lewis, you and your mother say it's not only the rumors that have caused you to doubt, but also an ex-boyfriend of Ms. Johnson's who claims he might also be the baby's biological father.
Yes.
So, Ms. Johnson, just explain to the court how this all began.
Well, it all started, me and Mr. Lewis was friends back in middle school, and then we stopped talking for a while, and then we met up again through Facebook. I had broke up with my ex, and then me and Mr. Lewis started dating in March of 2013, and I found out that I was pregnant in April, and that's how the whole story went.
All right, so you started to date him in March, and then by April you were pregnant?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so in your mind when you found out you were pregnant, you said it was?
I told Mr. Lewis that it was his baby.
All right, so Mr. Lewis, is this correct?
Yes.
And did you think you two were exclusive, or were you all just?
We was just friends at first. I knew she had a boyfriend, and when they broke up, that's when we started talking.
So in your mind, after they broke up is when you all started dating?
Yes.
Okay, and so next thing you know, she comes up pregnant.
Yes.
And she tells you.
Yes.
And when she tells you, what do you think?
When she first told me, I was excited. I actually broke down crying, telling my mom, because I ain't know how I be, because I ain't had my dad, and I ain't want no kid growing up like I did.
So, Miss Lewis, when you got this news, your son says he burst out crying and told his mother. How did you feel?
Well, I first found out through Miss Johnson. That's how I first found out that she was pregnant.
So you found out from Miss Johnson?
Yes.
How did you find out? Take me back to that.
She called me and told me that she was pregnant, and she told me, and I was like, so how do you know you're pregnant? And she said that she took the test, and I was like, okay. So I didn't say anything else. I just had to breathe.
So when your son came home and you talked to him about it, how did you feel?
He came to me, and he said, Mom, there's something I need to tell you. And I was like, well, what is it? And he said, you know, Miss Johnson's pregnant. She said, I'm the father. And he immediately broke down crying.
Did you feel like it was tears of joy or fear?
Both. I think it was both. And I told him, I said, well, you know, I raised you. You're going to do what you got to do. If this is your baby, you're going to step up. You're going to do the right thing, you know, and we'll go from there.
When did the doubt come in?
The doubt came in when I spoke with one of Ms. Johnson's family members. That's when the doubt came in.
Really? From her family member?
From one of her family members.
What did they say?
She had told me that my son could be the father, and she also said there could be others that could be the father.
Others, plural?
Yes. This came from her side. And it was more than one family. It wasn't just one family member, it was other family members. That's when I started having doubts.
So, Ms. Johnson, were you aware that members of your family told Ms. Lewis that there could be others?
Yeah, I was aware, but I don't know why he would listen to them. The whole time I kept telling Mr. Lewis that it was his baby, but he was still believing one of my family members.
Why would your family members say that about you?
Because they never want to see me happy with anybody.
Why? That's your family.
I don't know. Mr. Lewis and his mother called after I had the baby, and they called me cussing me out and stuff. And she was like, well, you should apologize to my son. And I was like, for what? Apologize for what?
So what happens during this pregnancy? Do you then still participate in the pregnancy? Are you going to doctor's appointments? Are you supporting Ms. Johnson?
We went to 2 doctors. I made sure he got to the doctor
He came
appointments
to like 3 or 4 of my appointments.
That he was aware of. Made sure he got there. After she had the baby, he found out through the relative that she had the baby. She had already had the baby maybe 3 days when we found out.
Wait a minute. So you say you had no doubt that he was the father of your child, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
So why is it you didn't tell him when the baby was coming?
Because he was believing everybody else that the baby wasn't his, so I told him that it wasn't his. He wants to believe everything else, so.
Oh, I get your doubt. Your doubt is clear as the day is long. I get it. What I don't understand is your family is telling him that he's not the father. And I'm just not understanding this piece of the puzzle as to why they have this doubt. Why would they manufacture it? Or is it true? And you can tell it. We're here now.
It's not true.
It's not true. So why would they lie on you?
Because they don't never want to see me happy with it.
Why? Why? Why does your family not want to see you happy? A family is supposed to want to see their daughter, their sister happy. Why?
I don't know.
You just don't know. All your life it's been that way. Jerome, I don't think I'm ever going to understand this. I have tried my best today. If you want more episodes of Paternity Court, make sure to subscribe and click on the notification bell. Mr. Lewis, is that the only reason you have doubt?
I ain't start having doubts until I actually found out about her ex. He was calling me, telling me stuff. He was with her like the time we was together and I ain't know it.
So, Ms. Lewis, yes.
I made a status on a social network. The ex contacted me.
Wait, what did the status say?
It was something like in reference of my son, you know, finding out that he's a father to now finding out that he may not be the father. It could be somebody else's. So the ex saw my status and sent me a message. And come to find out, I know the ex because he's a friend of my godson's.
Oh, so he reached out to you and said what?
He reached out to me in an instant message and said, call me ASAP.
And you called?
And I called him ASAP. And he said, I read your status, and he said, you wouldn't happen to be talking about Ms. Johnson? And I said, yes. And he was like, wow. She told me that I was the father.
Really? Ms. Johnson, did you tell your ex that he...
One of my relatives told my ex that he was the father.
Your relatives, but you never personally?
I always told Mr. Lewis that he was.
You told Mr. Lewis that he was, but did you tell your ex that he was as well?
No, I didn't.
Your Honor, they were living together as of a couple of months ago.
Ms. Johnson and the ex?
And the ex had on social network.
But I had already had the baby. I had already had her.
Yeah,
that was this year when my ex was living with me.
Exactly. And he was on the network holding the baby, saying, I'm daddy, with pictures. And I've spoken with him verbally more than once where he was, yeah, I'm the daddy. So he was like, I don't know what's going on.
So after your relatives told your ex that he is likely the child's father, did you and your ex have a conversation?
No. Mr. Lewis and my ex will always sneak on the phone with each other. I don't know what they talk about.
Sneaking on the phone together.
Absolutely.
They obviously got a lot to talk about. They both think they're the father of the same child. Mr. Lewis, you got on the phone with her ex?
One day, I think it was in March, we had a three-way conversation. She didn't know I was on the phone, and I actually heard her. He asked her who the father between me and Derek, and I heard her say, I don't know.
Okay, let me hear that again. You were on the phone.
Yes, she had me on mute.
You were on mute.
Yes, and I
And
heard.
you're just listening in. And Miss Johnson didn't know you were on the phone.
Yes.
And the ex was on the phone.
Yes.
So this is a three-way call.
Yes. And he asked her who's the father between me and Derek, and she said, I don't know.
Do you remember that conversation, Miss Johnson?
No.
Okay, let me ask you point blank, because this is why we're here today. You have this beautiful baby. You say Mr. Lewis is the father. They don't believe he's the father. Your ex is claiming he's the father. Do you know which man is the father of your child? Do you really know?
I mean, to me, she looks like Mr. Lewis.
So are you basing it just off of looks, or let's think about the biology of it all. Let's think about the window of conception. Is there a possibility that either man, take the looks out of it, is it a possibility that either man could be her father?
Well, the possibility is Mr. Lewis. He could be the father.
So, I have to understand, why would this ex-boyfriend, even if your family told him something, if you looked at him and said, no, my family's wrong, Mr. Lewis is the father of this child, it is not your child, why would he take it upon himself to get on three-way conversations on social media? What is his point?
Because they used to always try to set me up.
Who?
Mr. Lewis and my ex.
Your Honor.
But no, Mr. Lewis is saying that when he was on mute, he heard out of your mouth that you didn't really know which man was the father. Have you ever said that before, that you didn't know which man was the father?
No.
I actually heard her say that when the whole started, like, I thought she was mine until December. That's when I started having doubts. And then he told me himself that she was telling people it's his, and then she was telling people it was mine when I was around her.
Your Honor, when I spoke with Ms. Johnson, this was after she had the baby, she was at home, they was on the phone first, arguing. He had spoke with the relative, then spoke with her on the phone, and then he got upset, and I said, give me the phone. Maybe I can talk to her. And I said, what is going on? Is Derek, the father? And she was like, no. I mean, had a real attitude, was real smart with me.
Now, she did just admit to that in court. That's what you're talking about, right?
After the baby was born.
And I asked her, I said, why would you do that? I said, my son done went through over a year of being told that it was his, to being told that it ain't his, to being told that it could be yours or somebody else's. My son has been through it emotionally, which I've been through it emotionally, coming to church, coming up for prayer, falling down at the altar. Then come to find out, after the baby's born, it's not yours. So after that's over with, I had to deal with that with him. Then we don't hear nothing else from Ms. Johnson. Then out of the blue, she contacts him in March.
Yes.
Oh yeah, you might want to go get checked. It's between you and somebody else. So now here we go again.
Like, I haven't even seen the baby. Like, I was struggling, like, I wanted to see her, and then...
You've never, ever seen Josiah?
No, I was...
Never held her?
My concern right now is the baby. Bottom line is the baby.
Absolutely.
And I have nothing against Ms. Johnson, but my thing is, for me, I couldn't get attached. She did
you felt
invite.
Like you just couldn't even...
I couldn't do it.
Cross that threshold.
I couldn't do it.
Okay, so now Mr. Lewis and Miss Lewis, you submitted these photos to the court, and that's Josiah on the left, and that's Mr. Lewis as a baby on the right.
Yeah.
And when you look at these pictures...
Like, I think she kind of resembled me, like, she looked like me and my mom.
You too, Miss Lewis?
I see the resemblance, but emotionally and spiritually, I just couldn't go there until I definitely knew that that was my grandbaby.
Your Honor, I did...
And you submitted these pictures of you as a child. So that's Josiah on the left, and that's you as a baby on the right.
I just want to find out if she mine. If she mine, like, I'll be there. I just want joint custody, and I want her to have my last name. Like, cause I ain't gonna have no kids.
She's not getting your last name.
I commend you for that. Well, I think we're ready for the results. Jerome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do you want to watch Paternity Court on TV? Go to paternitycourt.tv to find your local listings. Thank you.
You're welcome.
These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics, and they read as follows. In the case of Johnson v. Lewis, pertaining to 6-month-old Josiah Johnson, Mr. Lewis, you are Josiah's father.
Can I see my daughter?
How you feel, Miss Johnson?
I feel good.
Feel vindicated?
I feel sad
You feel sad? Why?
because he haven't seen his daughter.
Can I give her a hug, you want her?
Yes, you may. Is that okay? Aw. Is it okay, Miss Johnson, if Mr. Lewis and Miss Lewis see beautiful baby Josiah for the first time?
Yes.
Great. I'll see you in my chambers. Court is adjourned. Ms. Jenkins, you say after 23 years, you are here to finally prove to your college sweetheart that he is your daughter, Marquisa's biological father. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Crockett, you say Ms. Jenkins was having sex with several men while you were in college, and you are positive you are not her daughter's father. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So, Ms. Jenkins, why, after 23 years, are you so sure Mr. Crockett is your daughter's father?
Well, recently me and Corey just reconnected, and we were dating back in college, so he has to be the possible father.
You all dated back in college,
Yes, Your Honor.
and now you believe 23 years later that he is your daughter's biological father?
Yes, Your Honor.
And so, Mr. Crockett, you don't believe that?
No, Your Honor.
Why?
Because she's not my child, you know.
That she is not your child. You do not believe Marquisa's your biological child.
Yes, Your Honor. And plus she has another man's last name.
Take me back to the beginning of this relationship, Miss Jenkins.
Okay. So in 1993, me and Corey had met in band camp. Mind you, I had a boyfriend back at home. But of course, we had an instant attraction. And then I was also messing with a guy from my church.
Oh.
But
So you were in college?
yes, ma'am.
And you said there were 3?
Yes, ma'am.
So you were messing with Mr. Crockett?
Yes,
and
Your Honor.
who else? The guy from high school?
Yes,
that
Your
was
Honor.
back at home? And somebody at church?
Yes, Your Honor.
So how did this relationship start?
So I was in college. I mean, I was having the time of my life. I was doing what most college students do.
You started having sex?
Yes.
Were you boyfriend and girlfriend at the time?
Not at all.
Did you know Mr. Crockett, she had 2 other boyfriends?
No, I didn't.
How do you remember this relationship?
We was both in band. You know, I played the drums, she played the clarinet. She did a little flag twirling, and then one of my friends came and told me she liked me, so we kind of hooked up from then on, and we was having sex, and just went from there.
So, Miss Jenkins, take me to the point you find out you're pregnant.
So I was at school, and I got extremely sick, didn't have no clue as to what was going on with me. So I went to the local health department, and I found out I was 4 months pregnant.
4 months?
4 months. And I didn't tell nobody because I was scared, because I knew I had been sleeping with several guys. I was terrified to tell my mom. It came down to where I had no choice but to tell her.
Who did you tell her the father was of the baby? Your mother?
My high school sweetheart.
Okay.
And I really didn't have to tell her. She just assumed because that's who they knew I was with.
So, Mr. Crockett, did you ever know Miss Jenkins was pregnant?
No, Your Honor.
You never told him you were pregnant?
Never. I never told him.
She called me up one day, Your Honor, and told me to come pick her up, and I went and picked her up, and we hung out, and we had sex, you know, and when she put her clothes back on, she reached in her back pocket and pulled this picture out and was like, "Do you think this baby's yours?" And I was like, "No." Then I showed my grandmother, And I asked my grandmother, do you think this baby is mine? And my grandmother was like, no. So from then on.
What? Wait a minute, Miss Jenkins, you go over to his house to have sex, and when you get done, you just pull the baby picture out and said, does this look like you?
I did. Yes,
You
Your Honor.
did that?
I did that. Well,
Why'd you do it like that?
Can I just take you back for a minute? Cause
Please do.
Kind of, when she was born, she's maybe about 3 weeks old. So I'm like, me and my high school sweetheart, we're extremely dark skinned. So this baby high yelling, I'm like, this can't be his baby, So I'm just
So you're saying the baby comes out
Yeah.
and she's very fair skinned.
Yes, and she hasn't.
So when you had the baby, your high school sweetheart accepted the baby as his. What happens at that point when you're having the baby?
Well, he's away, but his family, his parents accepted it. But me, I knew because I knew what I was doing. And so I felt like, I was like, this can't be. And then, so I mentioned it to the other guy from my church, and I informed him, I said, this may be your baby. And he was like, what? And I was like, yeah, well, you've been there, so hey, it's a possibility that this may be your baby. I didn't even know he told his mother until she came to me at church and informed me. She's like, do you mind us, getting the blood test just to make sure? I said, no, not at all. So then that happens, we get a blood test.
You do, okay.
We have a blood test and it comes back negative. He's not the father.
When you told him and it was negative, you've never at this point really told the high school sweetheart that Marquisa's not his, or you don't think she is.
Mm-hmm. I went right back to, just like he, I was like, well, it must be his.
Came back like you never left.
Yeah, like it never, exactly.
If you want more episodes of Paternity Court, make sure to subscribe and click on the notification bell. Marquisa thinks that your high school sweetheart is her biological father.
Yes, Your
She's
Honor.
never been told anything different.
Never.
And now you're here to prove that, in fact, the high school sweetheart is not her biological father, but Mr. Crockett is.
Yes, Your Honor.
I think it's time to hear from Marquisa. I want to know what she has to say.
Ooh.
Jerome?
And stand right next to the judge. Watch your step.
So, Marquisa, thank you for joining us today. I want to understand, you grew up thinking your mom's high school sweetheart was your biological father.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what you always believed.
Yes, ma'am.
Nobody told you any different.
No, ma'am.
And you were never led to believe anything different.
No, ma'am.
At what point were you told that there could be another possibility?
When my mom and Corey got back together, that's when my mom brought it to me that Corey may be my father. Just now, like recently, probably like a week before we came, I just found out that he wasn't the father.
Miss Jenkins, you just told your daughter 1 week ago
I just told her.
that the man she believed was her biological father for 23 years really was not?
Yes, Your Honor.
And how did you determine that?
I had him tested when she was 13. Like I said, I wanted child support, and so he wasn't complying with child support, so he felt like he wasn't gonna pay child support unless he had a DNA. So we had the DNA, I had her swab, he got swabbed, and the results came back that he was negative also.
And you knew this when she was 13.
I knew.
And so you just didn't tell her for 10 years?
I didn't say absolutely nothing. Pretty much, I'm raising her. She's growing up in a loving, environment. So I put it to the back of my mind.
So for these 10 years, she's still interacting with the high school boyfriend's family? Are they still coming around, or just all of a sudden they all disappear at 13?
In and out, like she said.
They're just in and out.
In and out. Yeah.
And so all this time, Marquisa, you feel like your father is just sometimey, coming and going as he pleases, never knowing that at 13 it was determined he really was not your biological father.
Right. At first, we didn't really have a father-daughter relationship because he was in and out of my life. Like, he was never consistently there. When him and my mom got back together, when I was about 11 or 12, then at that point we started to kind of build a relationship, and in between then we experienced Hurricane Katrina together. He was there for me. He taught me like a lot of stuff during that time. But then after that, him and my mom broke up, and then he went back to the same thing, and he was in and out. He was never really there.
And so at what point, Ms. Jenkins, do you then turn to Mr. Crockett and decide he could be her biological father?
Well, like I said, once me and Corey got back together, our family, our friends, and now everybody's, questioning us and asking, is that Corey's baby? Is that Corey's baby? And a lot of people telling us they look alike. So that's when it really,
So you just reconnected with Mr. Crockett?
Last year.
And once you reconnected, you said the family started saying that Markesia is his baby.
They favor.
And because you admittedly had slept with 3 different men, you DNA tested the first 2, came out negative. By process of elimination, you said that it must be Mr. Crockett.
Yes, Your
because
Honor.
these are the 3 men I was sleeping with at the time.
Yes, Your Honor.
So had you not reconnected with Mr. Crockett and started to have a relationship, would you have ever told your daughter that he potentially could be her biological father?
No, not at all. I wouldn't have.
You was never gonna tell me.
I never, honestly, I never would have told.
That's what we do here. We tell the truth. We want the truth. So you said you would have never told.
Because, I raised her. She, I did a good job, so I just...
I understand as a parent, like, you probably in your heart feel like you was doing the best thing to protect me, but I'm grown now, and, like, I deserve to know that. And
I understand that.
And now I just feel like I'm at that age where, like, if I want to have kids or whatever have you, I have a last name that is not my last name because I have no relation to him.
Mr. Crockett,
Yes,
you've heard Markesia speak beautifully about what this means to her. You've heard Ms. Jenkins testify quite honestly. She's put it out there today. Do you believe Markesia is your biological daughter?
No, I don't think she's mine.
Why? There were 3 men she was sleeping with. She's had 2 tested. You're the 3rd one. Why don't you believe it?
Look at them. Can I show you?
Is this proof you've brought, an exhibit? Let me see.
I'm 5'3", Keisha's 5'7", Markesia's 6'1". She has, her father has to be tall.
But your son's tall.
Well, wait a minute. Her mother's tall. What's the point? You just believe because you are not that tall and Markesia is so tall, there's no way.
Yes, Your Honor.
But if she DNA tested 2 other men, the other men that she openly admitted here today, I was at college sowing my oats, doing way too much, but I've had them tested and the answers was negative. Mr. Crockett is the only other person I was sleeping with. That doesn't in some way sway your thought?
No, Your Honor.
It should if I've had 2 other guys tested. So why wouldn't you think that, you knew you was there? So you were possible, if anything.
Correct. Yeah. Well,
You do believe you are a possibility. You agree to that? Or you believe she's not my daughter?
no, I'm a possibility, yeah.
And why do you feel that way? Because she's tall.
Yes.
And then
I
he
guess
also
we've heard
say-
worse, Jerome. We comparing toenails in here and everything else. So, are you just trying to be kind because you all have reconnected and you don't want to say it? I'm gonna say it for you, and then you can just tell me if I'm right or not. Is it your testimony that you believe possibly there was at least one more person, and that person or someone else may be the biological father?
I don't know, because, she done had 2 other guys tested, so.
I'm not gonna make you talk anymore. Not that you was gonna do it anyway.
Jerome, I think it's time for the results. These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics, and they read as follows. In the case of Jenkins versus Crockett, when it comes to 23-year-old Markesia, it has been determined by this court. Mr. Crockett, you are not the father. You are not the father, sir. Markesia, are you okay, hon? I know you were hoping for the closure today.
Yeah.
You've been very strong, but I can only imagine what it feels like to just not know. Mom, Ms. Jenkins, you see the tears in your daughter's eyes. And quite frankly, you came here to testify to sleeping with 3 men, and I do not mean this in a funny way, I mean this earnestly. Why not say 4? Where is this other guy? Do you know who it is?
No, Your Honor.
You can't remember being intimate with anybody else?
Besides those 3.
This is difficult.